Hi, everyone. Welcome to our third and final happy hour event of the Alone Together Resilience in Art series as part of Artown. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this series highlights artwork created by students and faculty from the School of the Arts during the pandemic. My name is Shoshana Zeldner, and I'm the Program Manager, Special Events with the School of the Arts. Alone Together, Resilience in Art has taken us all on a journey these past 3 weeks. Together, we've explored how artists at the university are continuing to create artwork in an entirely new context. Zoom has become a theatrical stage. Dancers perform alone, outside without lighting or a stage without a professional floor, only performing together if edited through video production. Students and faculty in all disciplines are experimenting with technology to showcase and share their work. The series really exemplifies how artists are being pushed to take risks in new ways, dictated by the confines and parameters of a pandemic. Last week's event focused on artwork made during the shelter-in-place order, and tonight's event takes us a step further, though the first two pieces that you will see were created by students during the past semester. The first piece is a dance that will be introduced by the student choreographer and performer. The second shares several artist books by students that speak poignantly to our current circumstances. However, the remainder of the program will showcase new artwork by faculty, students, and alumni. This artwork was created within the last month, some of which has never been shown before. So you may not have known it, but tonight you are actually attending a world premiere. The dance that you will see outside the line was created for this series. The performance by jazz faculty was just recorded and released, especially for Artown. And the final piece of the evening, Over the Rainbow, was also made especially for tonight's event. In short, I am very excited for us to be able to share these brand new and incredibly reflective works with you tonight. When I watch each piece in tonight's program, I feel complicated emotions come up that are an internal response to this challenging time. Things that I have struggled to put into words and things that simply cannot be put into words. And that is the power of art. While I cannot speak for any of you, I think that some of you might share in this experience with me tonight. You can view tonight's program by clicking the link provided in the comments box. While this is a virtual event, I feel it is important to remind ourselves about our connection to place and land. I want to take a moment to honor the original inhabitants of the land that our university sits upon, the Washoe and Northern Paiute people who have stewarded this land for generations. This is land that will continue to support our artistic endeavors, whatever those may look like. Before we begin, I would like to introduce some of the students and faculty who have created the work that you will see tonight. If you will all join me up here on screen, I've asked them all to introduce themselves, share their preferred gender pronouns, and tell us what beverage they've brought to the happy hour this evening. So I will quickly share that I identify as a she, her, and I have brought a fresh key lime juice with honey from my bees. So, Shay, will you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Shay Jordan. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I'm currently a fourth-year student at the university studying human development and family studies along with dance. And my drink of choice tonight is water. I can't get enough of it, so.
My name is A.B. Gorm, and I'm the director at Black Rock Press in the art department here on campus. My preferred pronouns are her, her, hers. And tonight I am drinking water from a library cup.
Hi everyone, I'm Carrie Cunningham, Associate Professor of Dance in the Department of Theater and Dance. My preferred pronouns are she, her, hers. And for this final week of performances, I have brought, again, my Jacob's Pillow commemorative glass this week with a watermelon basil margarita. Cheers.
Aaron?
All right,
My name's Aaron Hill. I take he, him, his pronouns. I'm an assistant professor of music. I teach oboe and sax. I'll be playing both in tonight's presentation. I'm keeping it very local tonight. I'm drinking a Great Basin Icky IPA. And in the background, I have a painting of a bear by local artist Emily Reed.
I'm Jean-Paul Perrant. I'm assistant professor of music composition, music department. I go by he and him. And I'm also, like my friend Aaron, I'm keeping it local. I'm doing Revision Blonde, which is a wonderful ale. So we're very excited.
Hi everybody, I'm Hans Hall, lecturer of string bass and jazz studies. Pronoun is he, him. And I'm drinking a Blue Moon Belgian white with a slice of orange. Not sure if it's local, probably not.
Good evening, everyone. My name is CJ Greer. I'm an assistant professor of music and also theater and dance as a voice teacher for the music theater program. And this evening I will be drinking a whole fruit margarita that may or may not have alcohol in it. And if it's okay, since Angelo is not here yet and he's my duet partner, I will introduce him as well. Angelo Monroy is a graduate TA in the jazz department and is a fabulous jazz pianist, as you will have the opportunity to hear.
Thank you all so much. One more reminder for everyone that the program is available in the comments box on the video. And I will invite Shay to stay on screen and introduce their piece, American Dream.
So the piece that you are about.
Oh, you're good. Sorry. I'm leaving now.
You're good. Okay, so the piece that I am presenting tonight, it's called American Dream. It was actually put together at the very beginning when the pandemic had started and I ended up going home or back to my parents' house. That's where the setting is. One of the assignments that we had in the class that I was taking with Professor Cunningham had to do with doing research on the location that you chose to put it in. So the research I actually did was on the historic neighborhood that the house is located in. It's located in John S. Park neighborhood in Las Vegas. And the neighborhood is actually named after an entrepreneur. At the time, he was from the 1940s, and he was praised as being such a great person with money that he actually ended up saving Las Vegas from suffering too much during a certain financial decline. And I found the irony in the fact that I was having my own financial issues with having lost my job once the pandemic had hit, and then having to read about how this man was essentially the equivalent of what we normally see as the American dream, especially during the 1940s and things of that sort. So I wanted to create a piece that really showed what the American dream is, not only from a perspective of how we take it in through media, but who the American dream actually affects as far as financial standing. So I hope that you enjoy the piece.
Hi again. AB, are you with us? Will you join me up here on screen? Yay.
The next 3 videos were created by students in my spring 2020 Intro to Book Arts class. We have a book and publication arts curriculum here at Blackrock Press and run 3 book arts classes out of here each semester. The assignment which I handed out just about a week before spring break was to use the accordion structure to make or respond to a landscape, real or imaginary. The students all had drastically different approaches to this assignment, but their uniqueness had great promise. One of the most important aspects of artist books is the materiality of the object. Artist books provide an opportunity for the reader, viewer, to often hold the object, feel its weight in their hands, feel the stretch of their arms as they expand the accordion. It is this attention to the experience of reading that provides such a dynamic interaction with the object. So, given that, here my students were, ideas mocked up, tools at least in hand, and many without most of the formal book materials and equipment available to them in the Blackrock Press studio. This quarantine version of book arts was quite different. I'm so proud of the way that my students were able to pivot in their suddenly quite difficult situation. This new level of constraint was trying, but as you'll see, the videos of Julia Flippo, Isabella Esguerra, and Grant Connolly were able to create thoughtful, wonderful artist books.
Hello, my name is Julie Flippo. I'm a student at unr. I took a couple book arts classes with A.B. Gorham and Inga Brueggemann in the spring of 2020. This accordion book was one of the assignments, but my heart was really invested personally into the project. My family has roots in the North Valleys of Reno. It used to be a really quiet area surrounded by natural desert and unhindered views of Peavine Mountain. It was really gorgeous. But in the last 10 years or so, the city has started to rezone and sell the land to companies for warehouse space. And this book is a response to that. Specifically, I called to Amazon and the fulfillment center that's at the corner of North Virginia Street and Lemon, because Amazon is really a leader and foremost example of today's mindsets that prioritize capital over people and environments. So the packaging, the parcel motifs of the covers, and of course the title, which is fulfilled, it all calls to Amazon and that greed. The collage on the inside is of Peavine Mountain and is made of photos I took of the natural environment out there as well as the warehouses themselves. There's a poem on the last page of the backside that I titled The Reno Rush. It goes, "It was a helter-skelter rush to no man's land. A new mechanical age had to fail to reckon with the Reno opponents. A great gap separated Reno and sagebrush. Buildings arose up as if by magic along the desert floor overnight. Prospectors pay checks. Nevada, built along the track. Several threats were dismantled and moved. Nevada, the location of a modern-day gold rush. Men revealed the town as a monstrosity. Bonanza was a rather unethical practice. The desert, another capital in the making."
Birthright. In the beginning, there was the gods are gone, but you remain. I dreamed that Eden lived inside me. When I breathed, a garden came. I dreamed I knew all of creation. I dreamed I knew the Creator's name.
So I created Birthright to depict the landscape of the mind. My idea, as I was cutting the accordion to size, was that if every mind is a landscape, a world, then every creator, owner of the mind, is in their own right a god, which is why I used excerpts related to religion. So the art is a collage of jumbled letters and cardstock planets, which represent words and ideas tangled together in these lines of thought, about to be born. Birthright shows basically the primordial soup of creation, with the back showing when your thoughts are more organized or when your mind is more at rest. So yeah, basically that's Birthright. His Birthright. And yeah, narration by my brother. Thank you for that. And yeah.
I'm Grant Conley, and I created this book as one of my very first artist books. Let's read through it. Now, as we go through this book, one of the first things you'll notice are these windowed sections. Whenever these pages are opened, a silhouetted figure falls down the page and disappears through these slots, while a ticket stub prints out in its place. I also use these ticket stubs throughout the book, though a lot of them have their time, date, or ticket number censored out. Going on, the book continues to unfold into this long, vertical landscape, which is meant to look like a cliff face against an advancing sunset. This page features a sewn-in booklet of tickets, some of which have been edited to contain short messages about evading responsibility or accepting false realities. When I designed escapism, which was before the 2020 pandemic crisis, I intended for it to deal with personal experiences of obsession and denial, but in a way that requires the reader to participate and experience the emotions for themselves. The repetitive ticket stubs present this theme of returning to a place or idea continually, while the censorship and the advancing sunset background bring up this unclear progression through time. And then, of course, the silhouettes in freefall give the reader an object which is always out of reach, while also adding to the general tone of uncontrolled descent. The actual narrative taking place is hidden from the reader. Escapism describes my personal tendency to use my hobby, rock climbing, as a means of escaping emotionally difficult experiences. The silhouettes were all taken of me while I was rock climbing, and the ticket stubs come from the parking garage nearest to my climbing gym. I ended up having to complete this book while in lockdown, so I had to cut a lot of the content I intended for it to include. The final product features a lot of stylistic changes from the original design, such as the hand-sketched and cut title on the cover, as well as this ticket stub backing. This also meant that I had to leave a lot of rough edges uncut for this final copy. On the other hand, the general theme of escaping emotionally difficult circumstances only seems more relevant given the time that the book was completed.
I must say I'm becoming obsessed with artist books. So AB, you might want to watch out because I might show up in one of your classes. I got to see her speak about her own work on a panel, and the work is so beautiful. Thank you, students, for sharing that incredible work. The impetus for this next piece, which was created just last month with alumni of the dance program at UNR, was actually the site-specific work Line Dance that premiered as part of the Connections exhibit at the Reno Tahoe Airport. In this work, which I co-created with Mandy Flokini, who is a dear friend and a wonderful alumni of our program, we played with the dynamics of waiting in line and also staying in line, while also exploring the limitless potential of stanchions, which is a term I learned on one of my first meetings about creating a site-specific work in an airport. So they're those, well, you'll see it. You'll know exactly what they are. You've always wanted to play with them, and perhaps your children have played with them at the airport. The work premiered in mid-February, Line Dance did, at the airport, and we, my family and I, traveled to San Diego the very next day without any inkling that this would be the last time we would board an airplane for the next several months. And of course, who knows how long that practice will be absent from our lives. Outside the Line presented an opportunity to work with the movement vocabulary created for line dance, but our new circumstances required me to film the dancers individually interacting with a single stanchion in various locations around town. And hopefully you'll recognize some of these, they're fairly iconic. I got permission to retrieve one of our rehearsal stanchions. Thank you to the airport for loaning me them at the beginning of this process from campus, and invited cast members from Line Dance to participate. 6 of these original cast members were willing to come play with me outside in these locations and be filmed doing the work. These dancers, Keely Cobb, Mandy Flocchini, Trisha French, Christina Lee, Cassidy Ratanical, and Angela Ritchie. I appreciate their willingness to participate in this project so much. It's a project that literally kept me sane at times as I negotiated the lack of opportunities for meaningful connections and art making during these challenging times. I was also immensely inspired by my students, one of which you saw at the beginning of this program and 2 of which were on the program last week, and there are many more who were not participating. I was really inspired by their ability to sort of turn on the dime and create work in this new way when classes went online back in March. And I was so lucky, you'll see 2 other colleagues with me on screen right now. I was so lucky to get to collaborate with Jean-Paul Perrat and Aaron Hill, who composed the music for this video dance. I had wanted to work with an original composition for Line Dance back in February, but we just didn't have time then. Little would we know that this opportunity would present itself. But I was delighted that both Jean-Paul and Aaron were interested in creating a score that would provide a distinct landscape for the arc of the video editing process. And I'd love to ask Jean-Paul to kick off the discussion of how the score for Outside the Line was created.
Great, thank you, Carrie. Yeah, so this is one of several collaborations that Carrie and I are involved in and have been involved in the past. So I really appreciate working with her and her work. Yeah, I was inspired. I saw the performance at the airport and I was really inspired by the movement with the stanchions and the dancers and kind of staying in line and, you know, pulling on the things and letting them move back and forth. So I was really intrigued by that. And when she asked me if I'd be interested in doing the score, doing a score for her, I said, yeah, of course, this will be a lot of fun. And at the same time, I was working with my colleague, Aaron Hill, on another piece. So I thought, okay, let's go ahead and let's, you know, pull everybody together. And Carrie was also thinking of the same thing, I think, at the same time. And I guess I really wanted to have this idea of, you know, cool, going through the airport, moving in and out, you know, getting through security, going to find the gate, and this kind of smooth, cool feeling that happens as you get to. I feel very comfortable going through the airport, and I'm very excited, but also very focused on where I'm going when I go through the airport. So that was the feel of the groove. And I don't get to play guitar very often or bass, but I was able to kind of slide that in on this piece. And this is not very much like a lot of the stuff that I do, as both Carrie and Aaron know. But it was a really, really great joy and a great pleasure. And then talked to Aaron and got him involved, and I'll let him talk about his contribution.
Well, I'm sure that this period is affecting all of us in different but very similar ways. I know that for me, it's been a record for how long it's been since I've gotten to play with other people live. And when you're a woodwind player, that's the whole reason you do it. So this is the second time I've done a co-composition. The first time I had an oboe piece that a friend later wrote a piano part for. And I have to say, being the second one to do the writing is a lot more fun, because the way this project ended up taking place was that Jean-Paul sent me his track, and I got to listen to it a bunch, and I spent a lot of time improvising with it and seeing what felt good. Ended up choosing tenor sax for it, maybe because I was listening to a lot of Wayne Shorter and Sonny Rollins at the time, and You Are What You Eat. And then when it came time to record it, we wanted a different mood for one small section of it, so I brought in the oboe and did some live improvisation. But this was, for a series of months, as close as it got to getting to play with people, and it felt the whole time like I was getting to interact with Jean-Paul's music. So it made for a real collaboration, then really came to life when I saw how it ended up fitting with the dancers in all different parts of town. And I know for all of us stuck at home, there's something so refreshing about getting to go to all these different places.
Thank you both so much for all that you contributed to this. The musical composition was really integral in the editing process, as I mentioned. Jean-Paul, it's so crazy to me to hear you say how calm airports make you, because I'm literally the opposite. But maybe I should have this score in my my earphones when I go through the airport next, when I get to travel again. But for me, it really provided this great landscape. It's been a long time. This isn't my first foray into dance specifically for camera and into video editing, but I must say I'm extremely rusty. And like I said, I was really inspired by my students' ability to do it. And I reached out to Sarah Johnson, whose piece was on last week's program. And I said, okay, what editing? What did you edit with? How do I do it? And she sort of gave me a very gentle and loving nudge back into this world. So I'm very rusty, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity to show you this work here tonight. So without further ado, Outside the Line.
Passengers, this is the pre-boarding announcement for Flight 89B to San Francisco. We are now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding at this time. Please have your boarding pass and identification ready. Regular boarding will begin in approximately 10 minutes' time. Thank you.
Would all passengers traveling to Tokyo on flight FR3421 please have your boarding passes and passports ready for boarding. Flight FR3421 now boarding at gate 21.
Wow, that was awesome, guys. Great music and great concept. Really enjoyed it. All right, the video I will be presenting is a performance by some of UNR's jazz faculty, including Josh Reed on trumpet, Ed Corey on guitar, and myself on bass. As you can see, my bass right there. As I'm sure you guys know, live music has been pretty much shut down for like 5 months. So many musicians, professional musicians that make their living are really struggling now. And they're having to adapt, right? So, doing live streaming events, online lessons, people applying for grants and sponsorships from generous donors and organizations, etc. So one such organization, For the Love of Jazz, our local jazz society, has partnered with a local studio, Tanglewood Productions, to produce a series of videos featuring local jazz musicians in the area. And actually, you can find these videos. There's probably around 7 or 8 of these already up on For Love of Jazz's brand new YouTube channel. So please go and check out some of the great talent that Reno has. Many of them are graduates of our jazz program here. And include 2 of the videos that, one of the videos you'll see is up there. I'm going to show you now. So after not having played with other people for over 3 months, and it was so great to actually play music with people in a safe environment, which was Tanglewood Studios, and actually quite emotional. It's like, just gratitude for having the opportunity to do this. So it was a nice, and so we had a really nice studio environment. It was very spacious, so we were able to socially distance each other. Josh actually was in the drum booth, totally isolated. But so very little preparation went into this. So we just picked a few tunes from the Great American Songbook to play, and as jazz musicians tend to do, we basically just winged it. So what you're going to hear now is a tune by Jerome Kern, a standard called Yesterdays, not to be confused with the Beatles' Yesterday. So hope you enjoy. One, two,
That was really beautiful.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible, guys. Really awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Whew.
Super killing.
Good to see people playing together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Angelo, you got introduced by CJ at the beginning, but if you want to say hi, you're on your own.
Hi, Internet Legion. My name is Angelo Monroy. My preferred pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm just glad to be here. I'm going to scoot back so I don't get my head cut off. Okay.
Cool. So we're going to mix this up a little bit. I have a few questions for CJ and Angelo as a little intro to their performance. So I will jump in. But so Over the Rainbow really resonates on an emotional level with where we are in the world right now. And I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about the choice for the song. And this is for CJ.
Thanks, Josh. It actually wasn't intentional. Not initially. It started as a piano project, quite frankly. Over the Rainbow is a great song to evaluate young voices on, and I have been wanting to learn the harmonic chord progression of it for a while so that I could use it in a new student evaluation to transpose it into any key I would need. So it started there, and I was looking for simple accompaniments. I remembered Ava Cassidy's version, and her accompaniment is fairly simplistic, so I bought that and started learning to play it. Then I was sort of re-listening to her singing it, and it is so beautiful and inspiring. And I was just sort of reminded of what a great and timeless tune it is in both its melody and its lyrics. And I was getting really frustrated by not being able to play well enough for myself to just sing freely. And so then I started stepping away from the piano just to sing freely, just to sing from the soul. I recognized that I just had such a longing for having that real-time accompaniment and being able to sort of create something in musical collaboration that when this project came up, I just felt like the right fit. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I didn't think about it either till I watched it and was like, whoa, this makes sense for right now.
Once I sort of got the story kind of going in my head, I agree that a lot of things about it just sort of landed for me.
Yeah. So I'll ask you both this question. I think we kind of asked you actually if you would consider performing alone in the Lily, and I'm curious how that experience was for both of you, if that brought up any feelings, if that's something you're used to. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the act of performing in the Lily alone and being videotaped and all of that. Do you want to go first?
Angela, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah, it's really interesting because I think a lot of artists out there have tried to get my relationship with art and with music as close to my values as possible. And definitely school can be a good sort of sieve to figure out what it is that you want out of music. So, it's, for me, it was personally really really relieving to just think of it almost as sort of a meditation, or just another moment that you can try to just place yourself in and see what comes out of it, and sort of let the music unfold in front of you. So I always have a little bit of jitters before recording, so but I tried to bring that as much of that mindset into that space because it was so intimate and so personal, and you're playing for everybody and nobody at the same time. So
yeah, I totally feel that, Angelo. For me, it didn't really feel like a performance so much as it was, because it was deliberately planned as an unrehearsed experiment, essentially. Neither of us had played live with another person, at least not in piano and singer mode, since the pandemic had begun, sorry. And so I recognized that it was just going to be, I knew that it was going to be sort of rife with emotional content, and just being able to hear that piano for the first time, I knew was going to affect me. And so, yeah, I had that story in my head, and I basically just sent Angela the music and I said, hey, enter here, improv here, exit here, and let's just see what we come up with. Let's see what happens. And so we talked it through when we got together, and we just did it. And so it felt more like a shared experience in this case for me than an actual performance in that way.
Really interesting. It is. It's, yeah, unexpected.
It was for me too. It was really interesting.
Very much the same feeling here.
So it seems like our world is a little more forgiving in some ways now than it used to be. I think people are making space for being human in a different way and for being vulnerable. And DJ, you had mentioned, like, first of all, being recorded is a big deal for you in general, because it's creating this permanent thing that's out there. And then on top of that, you let me know that you chose a take that had some mistakes in it. And I would not necessarily have known that. Maybe a facial expression gave it away, maybe, but that's it. But I wouldn't have known. And so I'm wondering if you could speak to that choice of leaving those mistakes in there.
Yeah, I mean, so we, like I said, we just did it. And I actually wondered if maybe the first take would be the right one. And it was, we decided we only did 3 takes total. And there was no like editing between the takes. It was like, it had to be a one-stop live shot, and that was it. And so, I mean, my own insecurities and fears are, they're very much stemmed from the influx of the social media. Like, sometimes I call it the critiquing comments, or I even said to one of my friends, it's like its own pandemic, all of its own, the critiquing comment pandemic, where people just love to critique instead of encourage or lift up or support. But it also, so there's fear around that and anxiety around that for me, of course. But in general, I think I just love live performances for what they are. They are a moment in time that is full of that artist's nuances and thoughts and emotions that are happening at exactly that moment. And there's no getting around them. They come up in our artistry, and they come out in performance. And I think that's one of the things I love about live theater, live performance in general. I'm not as drawn to the film world or the recording studio world, just for my own self. Though I'm sure I'll do it at some point, because that will be a challenge all of its own. But yeah, it's the liveness that I think I just really love. Just isn't the filming permanency thing. It's just not really my jam. So yeah, it's scary to find permanency in that way in this. But again, I was really trying to view this as not so much of a performance and more of like an experiment. And it is, as I was sort of reframing this in my head, it's basically like, to me, it feels like a documentation of a very poignant moment in my own musical and creative history that I was really blessed to experience with a fabulous duet partner in a gorgeous, and a wonderfully acoustic space at university. So,
yeah, thanks.
I'm trying to get over it.
You're doing fantastic, and for sure, it's shown me how performance on screen is a totally different art. Like, it feels like a different art form than performance on a stage. It really does, and there's a lot of different skill that goes into it on the screen than the stage, and vice versa.
Yeah, and you know, you asked me about the take we chose. It just happened to be the second take that we did, and it just was the most cohesive of all 3 of them. But it did have the mistakes. The other 2 had mistakes as well. So it wasn't like I chose the one take with the mistakes. They all had mistakes, and they all had beautiful, interesting moments. And that was what was so interesting. We just took the one that was sort of the most cohesive, all the way across. Of the 3, we kept ourselves to 3 just to like keep it legit.
Great. Angelo, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience in the pandemic as a student and as a musician, and how you feel like this is going to have an impact on your education and your profession as a musician, short term and or long term?
Yeah. You know, part of me has, you know, part of me has already felt like I graduated the week before spring break, you know. That's not to say checked out or anything, but it is definitely like it's usually like a shift in like lifestyle change or a shift in tone that's usually reserved for when you do graduate. So for me, I got to sort of experience all the things that my friends who had already graduated before me had sort of talked about. For one of those things was, you know, just being able to experience music in a different way. For me, you know, before the pandemic really hit critical mass, I was really concerned with learning music that I had like assigned myself and meeting like certain deadlines, and now I've just had a lot of fun like just being me. Not that it's sort of like it's not that school limited who I was, but there are certain, you know, facets of my life that I wouldn't have been able to experience if I hadn't been forced to deal with them in a pandemic. So I've just been enjoying just making like, you know, short little sound bites or like stupid little videos that I just like send to my friends. Just like for me, like I've learned that my whole like modus operandi as a student is being like consistently inconsistent. Like something will just dawn on me and then I'll just make it and then it's done. I had, you know, and I guess as far as my career is concerned, yeah, it's sort of taken like more of like I've realized that I want to take less of like a sort of a goal-oriented approach to my own music, and you know, whether that's like you know, making music as a living, you know, and just seeing how everything plays out, you know. You know, because when it's stripped of all those things, you know, of like its intent and its purpose, it's just the thing that you made. And so, you know, I just will make things, and sometimes it'll go to another thing, and sometimes it'll go, I don't know, maybe that's a naive statement, but for now, like I realize that the short-term impact is that there's not, you know, I'm trying to embrace the lack of purpose behind my music, and it sort of freed me in a lot of ways to just get in touch with other parts of myself.
I love you said consistently inconsistent. That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, I also love the idea of this offering freedom in some ways. That's pretty cool.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you both so much. I'm excited for you to share your piece.
Oh, okay. Feels like such a big lead up now.
Yes. All right.
All right.
star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me somewhere over the rainbow. Skies are blue and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't
I don't know what words can come after that. I am speechless. That you both performed that so beautifully, and yeah, I feel so lucky to have you here in our community. And I will also add that all of the faculty and students involved in tonight's event who've been introducing the work have also been chatting to one another through our Zoom event. The most incredible, moving compliments. So there's a lot of inspiration in the YouTube chat and in the chat over here, and it's felt and appreciated. And I'm so glad we could share all of this with all of you. Thank you to all of the faculty and students who shared work in tonight's event and in the entire series. Very special thank you to those of you who made time in your evening and joined me up here on the screen to help introduce your work. Thanks to those of you helping behind the screens, like James Kavanaugh, our program assistant, who has been helping play videos, and all of you watching from your own screens at home. We would not be here with you. We would not be here without you. And a really, really special thank you to the faculty who created work, especially for this evening's event and for the series. CJ, Angelo, Carrie, Jean-Paul, and Aaron, thank you. We really need our audiences more than ever, and we are planning more ways to create accessible and safe arts experiences. So please stay in touch with us as we develop new virtual programming, and we will be posting that and sharing that as soon as we have it planned out a bit further. In the meantime, enjoy your evening, and we look forward to seeing you back here on our screens for more fantastic artwork in the coming months. Cheers.